Hello class, we're about to start section 8.2, simple interest. Our objectives: to calculate simple interest, to use the future value formula, and to use the simple interest formula on discounted loans. Simple interest. Interest is the dollar amount that we get paid for lending money or paid for borrowing money. Interest. Money paid for the use of money lent or for delaying the repayment of a debt. The amount of money that we deposit or borrow is called the principal. Principal, a sum of money lent or invested, or which interest is paid. Simple interest involves interest calculated only on the principal. Simple interest, interest calculated only on the principal. The amount of interest depends on the principal. The interest rate, which is given as a percent and varies from bank to bank, and the length of time for which the money is deposited. To calculate simple interest, we have the formula here. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. So we have I equals PRT. I is the interest, P is the principal, R is the rate as a decimal, and T for time is in years. The rate R is expressed as a decimal when calculating simple interest. The time is in years when calculating simple interest. Example: you deposit $2,000 in a savings account at Hometown Bank, which has a rate of 6%. Find the interest at the end of the first year. So remember, our formula is I is equal to principal times rate times time. So we have the interest is equal to the principal is the initial amount you had, which was $2,000. Then we have our rate. Our interest rate is 0.06, which stands for 6%. And then it says time. It says find the interest at the end of the first year. So your time here would be 1 because the time is in years. So we have the interest is equal to 2,000 times 0.06 will give $120, and we know that times 1 is still $120. So your interest is $120. Now, we scroll down here, it says example. A student took out a simple interest loan for $1,800 for 2 years at a rate of 8% to purchase a used car. Find the interest on the loan. So we would still use the same formula. I is equal to PRT. So we have the interest is equal to the principal, which is $1,800. The rate is 8%, which is 0.08, and the time is 2 years. So we have interest is equal to, now we would take 1,800 times 0.08, which will give us, let's see, it's 4 carry a 6, that'll give us $144. And then we have to multiply that by 2. So our interest is equal to $288. And that is our final answer. Now we come to our next example. It says $3,000 is invested at 3.5% simple interest for 1 year. So find the interest on a loan. So we have I is equal to PRT, or interest is equal to principal times rate times time. The interest is equal to, the principal is $3,000. The rate is 3.5%, which is 0.035. And the time is 1 year, or just 1. So now we have to take 3,000 times the 0.035, which will give us $105, and we multiply that by 1, and it still is $105. Now, go on to the next page. It says example. $7,000 is borrowed at 5.5% simple interest for 9 months. Find the interest on the loan. So we have our interest is equal to principal times rate times time. The interest is equal to the principal is $7,000. Our rate is 5.5%, which is 0.055. And then 9 months. Remember, our time is always in years, so this would be 9 over 12, because it's 12 months in a year. So this is 9/12 of a year. So now we have our interest is equal to, now we would take 7,000 times 0.055, which would give us, let's see, that would be $385. And then this will be multiplied by 9/12. So now we could put this over 1. And our interest is equal to, now when we put this in a calculator, our final answer will be $288.75. And that will be your interest for 9 months. Now, we come to our next example. It says $2,000 is invested at 2.9% simple interest for 18 months. Find the interest on the loan. So we got interest is equal to principal times rate times time. The interest is equal to the principal is $2,000. The rate is 2.9%, which is 0.029. And the time, remember, we do this in years, so it'll be 18 over 12. Because remember, it's 12 months in a year. So we got interest is equal to 2,000 times 0.29 is 58. And of course, you could put that in your calculator. And then also, 18 divided by 12 is the same as saying 1.5. So we could take 58 times 1.5. And that will give us 87. Should be $87. So that is your interest for 18 months at 2.9% simple interest. Now, we scroll down here. We have example. $50,000 is borrowed at 4.75% simple interest for 20 years. Find the interest on the loan. So we got interest is equal to principal times rate times time. The interest is equal to the principal is $50,000. The rate is 4.75%, which is 0.0475, and it's written as a decimal. And then we do time in years, so it'll be times 20. So now, we'll take 50,000 times 0.0475, which would give us, you put this in your calculator, they give you $2,375. And you have to multiply that by 20. So, we'll multiply this by 20. And this will give us, let's see, 7. This will give us $47,500. That is what the interest would be after 20 years. Now, if you notice here, what's interesting is your interest is almost as much as the initial amount you borrowed. So if you look at it, after 20 years, you will pay back the initial amount you borrowed plus the $47,500. So you'll end up paying over $97,000 for a $50,000 loan. Now, example, it says find the simple interest owed for the use of the money. Assume 360 days in a year. Do not convert the fraction of a year to a decimal. Okay, so now we had a principal, we had a rate, we had a time. So we would still use the same formula, which is PRT. So our interest is equal to the principal is $260. The rate is 4%, which is 0.04, and the time is 3 years. So the interest is equal to 260 times 0.04. That would give us, let's see, 4 carry our 2. That'll give us $10.40. And then we have to take that value and multiply it by 3. And this will give us, let's see, $31.20. That's how much interest will be owed. Now we come down here to B. Still giving our principal, our rate, and our time. Principal is $18,000. The rate, 7.5%, written as a decimal, is 0.075. And the time is 18 years. So now, we need to multiply this. We add 18,000 times 0.075 times 18. And after you put this in your calculator, it will equal to $24,300. Now, if you notice, your interest is higher than what you initially borrowed. So let's look at C. Now, we add the principal, or interest, is equal to the principal times rate times time. Interest is equal to the principal, which is $12,600. The rate is 9%, which would be 0.09. And now we have our T is in days. Now remember, it says assume that 360 days is a year. So it'd be 60 over 360. Now, we could take this and multiply this, put all this over 1. And then we can multiply straight across. Now when you take 12,600 and multiply it by 0.09 and multiply that by 60, that will give you a numerator of 68,040. And your denominator will be 360. Now we need to divide. So we would take that 68,040 divided by 360, and that would give us $189. And that is our final answer. Now, we go here to future value. Future value, principal plus interest. Future value of a loan is defined as the amount due on the loan. The amount due A is called the future value. Future value. The future value of money is the value of the principal added to the interest that can be earned by investing. The future value A of P dollars is simple interest rate R as a decimal for T years is given by. So we will have future values equal principal plus interest, and that'll be, principal is P plus PRT, which is our interest formula. And then what we did here, if you see here with the formula, they factored out a P and was left with 1 plus RT. So we have A, which is the future value, equals the principal times 1 plus the rate times time. P is also known as the loan's present value. Example, find each loan's future value. So let's use this formula here. We have A is equal to P times 1 plus RT. So we have A is equal to our P, or present value, or you may say principal, is $2,000 times 1 plus the rate is 6%, which is 0.06, and the time T is 3 years. So now we do what's inside the parentheses first. So 0.06 times 3 we know is 0.18. So it's 1 plus 0.18. So it'd be A is equal to $2,000 times 1 plus 0.18 is 1.18. And then we multiply that. So we have 2,000 times 1.18, and that gives us $2,360. And that is your future value with interest and also the initial principal. Now we come here, we'll come to C. Now we'll use the same formula. A is equal to P times 1 plus RT. So we have A is equal to, now our P is 6,000, As a matter of fact, don't have enough room here.